Happy Thursday, everyone. I am uh, just home from work and I am going through my CDs, and I saw the next one was Big Black, the Rich Man's 8-track tape. This one's a cool album. Um, First time I heard about Big Black was, strangely enough, when I was at Bible college in the fall of 1993. I formed a band that ended up being called Nebuchadnezzar. It featured my friend Brad Brown on drums, another friend of his, an old friend of his named Jim Kearsley on guitar, and a young woman named Sue Kinsman on bass. It's weird that I still remember that because I was only in that band for about 4 months, but it was really important to me because that's what I wanted to do, and everything came together really quickly and easily. Um, when I first moved into the dorm, I was just unpacking my stuff, and this guy came over and sat down, and he introduced himself, and he said, "My name's Brad, and I live next door in the dorm next door." And I said, "Hi, I'm Dan." And he said, "So what are you into? Are you into sports? Are you into music?" And I said, "I'm into music. In fact, I want to start a band. I want to learn how to play bass, but and I have an acoustic guitar there that I want to learn how to play, but I thought I'd start off being a singer." And he said, "Well, I play drums, and I just finished setting up my drums over at the chapel. So if you want to do that on Wednesday nights, we could do that." So I was like, "Wow, that's cool, you know." And then we hung out a lot, and we were walking through the mall one day, and he stops and starts talking to this guy named Jim, who was a little bit older than us. He played guitar. And before I knew it, Brad was saying, what's going on with you? And the guy said, well, I got injured at work. My eye was injured, and I ended up having to have these surgeries, and I got this settlement from my boss, but I can't go back to work, and I'm just sort of bored sitting around the house. And he said, "I'm teaching some guitar lessons, but other than that, I'm not really doing anything." And Brad said, "Well, would you like to start a band with us?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. I'll come by he decided to come by and pick us up on Tuesday night and bring us back to his apartment, and we would sit down and work on songs. And then Wednesday night, we would get together at the chapel and practice. So I had a guitar player and I had a drummer. And this is all, not long after unpacking my things. So and Brad and I started working at this drop-in center called Oasis in downtown Kitchener. And there was a young woman there that volunteered. And I just happened to be walking by. And I overheard a conversation that she was having. And she said, "Well, I play bass." And I just stopped in my tracks. I looked at her, and we'd only had like maybe one or two conversations, brief conversations, friendly, but we didn't really know each other. But I stopped in my tracks. I looked at her and I said, "Do you want to join my band?" And she said, "Yeah." So she started coming out on Wednesday nights too. And she didn't have an amp, she just had a bass. But the chapel there happened to be just around the corner. Inside there was a bass amp. So we rolled that out and we were good to go. We had a band. But they wanted it to be a very preachy Christian band where all the songs mention Jesus and stuff. And I was like, I wanted to use it as an artistic expression. And I figured if you sing Christians, you're only going to have Christians in the audience. And I don't know, I was sorting through some things on my own, and I didn't like the direction of it. And I began to realize that Bible college was not the place for me. and I ended up dropping out. That was it for the band. It was a very sudden decision, and that was it for the band. I didn't get a chance to tell Sue, "Hey, sorry that I left town." It's a shame. She was really nice, and I liked her a lot. So, um, Brad, I ran into a few years later. He came and visited me when I was working at a gas station. A few months after that, he had taken a job as a truck driver. So, he said, I'm in Brockville. So this was before cell phones. So he just pulled into the gas station. We had talked on the phone a couple weeks earlier, and I told him I was working night shifts at the Esso in Brockville. So he stopped in and visited. Anyway, back to talking about Big Black. Sue, when she joined the band, she handed me a bag of CDs, and she told me that she was into this label called Touch and Go. And Touch and Go was the home to one of the CDs she lent me was Shellac at Action Park, and I think she lent me a Big Black album. And I had never heard anything like it. It was metallic. It sounded industrial, but it was, I think it was a drum machine, and well, they had a live drummer, but it was bass and guitar and drums. Anyway, I didn't know a lot about the band, but I was listening to a lot of it, and that I remembered. And so years later, I stopped into a used record store, and I picked up the Rich Man's 8-track tape. Steve Albini is best known as a producer, although he doesn't call himself a producer, I don't think. He records albums. But it's funny. He was not. He's not in favor of digital recording. He didn't like CDs. And this is the write-up that they have in the liner notes here. This compact disc, compiled to exploit those of you gullible enough to own the bastardly first-generation digital home music system, contains all analog masters. Compact discs are quite durable, this being their only advantage over real music media. You should take every opportunity to scratch them, fingerprint them, and eat egg and bacon sandwiches off of them. Don't worry about their longevity, as Philips will pronounce them obsolete when the next phase of the market-squeezing technology bonanza begins. And then, I think it says somewhere on here, when in 5 years this remarkable achievement in the advancement of fidelity is obsolete and unplayable on any modern equipment, remember in 1971 the 8-track tape was the state of the art. Yeah, it's so abrasive. The guitars sound metallic and clangy. I've never heard a sound like that. The drums just sound like an amplified drum machine that's going to blow out the speaker. And there's a lot of low end. It's so aggressive, and he just screams into the mic. And the songs are, the topics are like abuse and rape and death and misogyny and racism, not from a glorified perspective, but actually critical of those things. And powerful band. The song that really stood out to me was Kerosene. There's kerosene around, there's something to do. Never had anything to do in this town. Never anything to do in this town. Lived here my whole life. That song, I laughed. The lyrics are hilarious, but also dark and twisted. And they also cover Wire's Heartbeat on this one. I prefer the Wire version. That's just me, but it's still really good. They did a cover of Model by Kraftwerk, but that's on another album. Anyway, I've talked enough about my own personal stuff. And I talked a little bit about Big Black. So next time, we're going to be talking about Björk. Is it Björk or Björk? I've heard British people call her Björk. Anyway, Let me know in the comments if you want. I'd love to hear from you. Talk soon. Bye.